All right, there we go. Good evening, everyone. I apologize for being late. There was some technical difficulties, but nevertheless, we are here. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I'm Mia James. I'm a financial wellness coach, and this evening I am being joined by my sister friend, Miss Natasha Phoenix. So say hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
How is everyone doing tonight? Let us know in the comments. I hope that folks are still joining. And once you do join, just let us know where you're joining us from and what have you thought of the book so far. So I'm going to let Natasha start us off. We're on chapter 2, and she'll let you know where we are in the book.
All right. I hope everyone can hear me. I have my earplugs in, so am I loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am. Take.
All right. I just want to make sure. All right, great. Let's set it off. uh, okay, so we are reading the Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power by our very own Dr. Boyce Watkins. And last week, I believe Jen ended at the top of page 30. So we'll just start there just in case, and then kind of give everybody a refresher of what we read last week. Is that all right?
Sounds great.
Okay, all right, great. As a result, Black children are raised to be consumers and employees from birth. We send our children to schools that are run mostly by whites, with textbooks and other materials provided by white owned companies, most of whom do almost no business with Black people. So they earn the money from our schools while our children are receiving a Eurocentric and often inferior education that doesn't prepare them to succeed in the world. All the while, Black families consume products marketed on mass media airwaves that are owned and controlled by whites, leading us to purchase often unhealthy consumer products which are also produced by whites. After our children finish high school, they are sent by their families to a typically white run university that puts them so deep in debt that they are expected to die in financial servitude. Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Listen, I was so happy when my students' were forgiven. Okay.
Listen, whew, that's enough to put you in trauma for life with them student loans.
Because we start at a negative net worth. Like,
Exactly.
listen, I was like, I pray that my niece and nephews never have to take out a student loan
Hmm.
because we start at negative. You know, when you think about net worth, you know, how much you own minus how much
Hmm.
you owe.
Hmm.
Terrible.
Exactly. And these are things that no one teaches. What we do in our culture, and this could be a whole another masterclass, where we just push our children out and we have not prepared them for life. So when they go out and they get in debt, don't know about credit cards or, these different type of predatory loans like student loans, then people are looking at us later on in life like, what happened to you? But you didn't teach me anything. So I'm learning by the skin of my teeth. I'm learning as I go. And unfortunately, most of that learning is mistakes because I had no knowledge whatsoever. And so, like, how does an $11,000 semester for 4 years turn into over $60,000 in debt? Nobody teaches us these things. So yeah, we
Mm.
need to do better. We need to do better. All right. Universities get rich from the trillions Black people give them every generation, while our best and brightest go into debt learning how to become better employees. After college, the most educated Black people are then sent into the workforce with almost no ability or understanding of how to start a business. Even worse, the majority of Black college graduates have never been trained to buy stock on a consistent basis or even buy land. So they are nearly completely incapable of creating a job, but highly capable of searching for one. Hello. Another thing, notebooks, written down jobs you saw, gave resume, what they said. Oh, we know the drill on that. But to be able to look up stocks and investments, even if it's commodities, those are things that we weren't taught. And we wonder why we're going through the things we're going through now. Plus, not only that, playing cleanup as well as playing catch up. Because I feel like at my age in my life, at this stage, that's what I'm doing because I wasn't given the tools. And even when I was given the tools, it felt as if it just didn't get in my subconscious because that was my programming.
Exactly.
Programming with jobs. So that's what you're going to think about. So you can't, tell somebody, okay, be an be an entrepreneur when they don't have the mindset of an entrepreneur and know that it's a gradual process and not just instantaneously, oh, yeah, I'm going to have my own business and have no skills to maintain or sustain that business. So, yeah.
That part, because the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset is two completely different things.
Yes, it
Like,
is.
I'm a terrible employee. That's what I realized.
Mm-hmm.
For me, entrepreneurship is like the way. Like, I love it, but it's not easy, right?
Mm-mm. No.
You have to have a certain discipline, a certain mindset, like you said, and we're taught from birth, like,
Mm-hmm.
education, go get a job, not build a business,
Mm-hmm.
invest money. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, I was actually taught that, but not enough to the point where I felt confident in doing it like right out the gate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Life has been a trial and error for most of us.
Yeah.
Heavy on the
Air heavy on the air. Why we gotta learn by fire?
I, I'm telling you, I'm trying to still answer that question now. All right. After finding a job with modest pay, but not enough pay to get out of debt, our young people spend their entire lives working for white owned corporation until they are dead. Some people, unfortunately, die right on the job.
Hmm.
All the while, many of them are paying rent to a wealth building landlord while consuming products from trillion-dollar corporations. In this entire process, Black people are the economic mules of America. We do nearly all the work while others receive nearly all the benefits. The landlord becomes wealthy from the rent we pay because we never infuse the cultural values necessary to become landowners. The corporate shareholders leave wealth for their children from the profits earned off of consumer products sold to Black people. The corporation also gets rich from the labor being provided by Black people who were taught that the best way to economic success is to find a job. And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson talks about in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. We were never taught to own. Well, of course, we're not going to be taught to own because it was a law was against the law to even teach us how to read. So, how could we have known that we wanted better? There was something in us that
Yep.
knew slavery was not the thing, but also at the same time, well, how would I know what I want as far as, maybe the career I want or owning my own business if I didn't even know how to read to be able to navigate my way in life? So, yeah, it's a lot of cleanup and stuff that we have to do. Some
And
of
I
us
mean
act like we still don't want to read.
that part. Well, I hate that saying. They say if you want to hide something from Black people, put it in a book, and I hate
Mm-hmm.
that because I know you and I are avid readers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I actually learned a lot of the financial strategies that I learned was through reading.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, nobody's like orally telling you, okay, do this, do that. They might tell you to save or they might tell you to pay your bills, but
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, like understanding why you need to do that or
Mm-hmm.
it, that I read in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was going to say it's interesting because you know how Dr. Boyce always talks about Black people had more land. They owned more land during like
Mm-hmm.
Reconstruction and after slavery because they realized the importance and the value of land because land brought in um, revenue,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now
Mm-hmm.
the further and further we get away from the land, we don't see as a whole, I should say, not everybody, have the importance of land and home ownership and how they
Mm-hmm.
help to accelerate wealth. So that's something we got to get back to.
Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree. All right, let's be clear. There's nothing humiliating about having a job, going to college, or buying consumer products. The problem is that the job should not be your only source of income or ownership. When you own nothing and work for an owner, you are effectively a piece of property to be used in any way that the owner sees fit. That's why people go to work and have to ask for permission to use the bathroom.
Mm.
Why? That ain't right.
Guilty.
Something wrong with that picture. Oh, I'm guilty too. Oh, trust me. Like, I can't go to the bathroom without asking permission. Oh, I thought I was an adult. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Education is notorious for that, man. You can barely. Oh gosh. Anyway.
All right. College is fine as long as it doesn't lead to a lifetime of debt. Also, I don't care what the student learns in college, as long as they also learn the fundamentals of building wealth, starting businesses, and owning assets. It's downright criminal that many of our HBCUs will brag about how many Black students they sent to become employees for white owned corporations. This is not just counterproductive, but it's also insane. The bottom line, go ahead and finish that part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The bottom line is that Black youth must be taught to own and control assets. This is the most important thing any young Black person can learn. And there is nothing that has ever been taught on a big white college campus that is more important than the ability to own a business. Wait a minute, hold on. The ability to own a means of production to give yourself access to freedom in a capitalist society. You know, the funny thing about that, when I was in college and I went to HBCU, Federal State University in North Carolina, down from Fort Bragg, there was a lot of times that I saw people starting to have businesses, whether it was in network marketing, myself included. But again, if that is not something that you have been reprogrammed for or programmed from the beginning, it doesn't stay in you. It doesn't stay where, I'm on this big college campus. I got, these are some of the demographics of people that I could target for certain things. But at the same time, if it's not in me to really pursue that, then you don't stick with it. So even in college, you could be getting, the so-called education, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, Bobby Hemmett calls that training. But at the same time, you could still be producing something for yourself. But again, if you're not taught, how are you going to stick with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I love that also Dr. Boyce says like you don't have to go out and start your own business to have ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know everyone is not, they may not want to,
Mm-hmm.
um, be a business owner, but you can own shares in companies through stock
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. And even that is like scary for people because they're like, I don't want to lose money because their money is valuable and precious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my hope for our people is that we actually create capital bases because that's
Mm-hmm.
really the issue. Is like, for people living check to check,
Mm-hmm.
um, for various reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now if you live in check to check just because you like spending, that's a whole different. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about the people who are like really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can we even help somebody like that carve out, you know, $20 a month so they can start building their wealth and have some sense of ownership because even though it may be a struggle up front, we
Mm-hmm.
gotta start making those hard decisions because later on when we 70 years old and we can't work or 80 years old and can't work, like
Mm-hmm.
do
Yeah. Yeah. One step at a time.
exactly. So if you just joined us, welcome. We're on the bottom of page 32 on part B. So hello, it's good to see you, Doriel and Deborah. And then part B, if you love someone, you will put money in their pocket. Cost model. Families show their love in different ways. When I was a kid, my grandmother showed love for us by cooking on Sundays. We would go down to grandma's house and she would make a really nice meal that typically involved chicken. In addition to the chicken, it reminds me when you be cooking, Natasha, we throw it down in that kitchen. I don't eat chicken, but that's what this reminds me of.
Okay. I be throwing down in my kitchen now.
You do. But like these potatoes and greens sound real good, but I'm hungry. In addition to the chicken, there will be macaroni and cheese, potatoes, greens, and even chitlins, which I thought were disgusting.
They are disgusting.
Never had them before.
You're not missing anything.
Thank Although people make fun of me because I've never had pork bacon before. I never ate pork in my life. So,
Good for you. That chitlins, not to cut off your time, but that chitlins, honey, my mother made me eat it when I was about 11 years old. I never ate it again. And I hated her for a while because, like, how could you have made me eat that disgusting thing? Oh my God. Especially when I found out what it was. Ooh,
I know. I know.
mm-mm, you're not
Exactly.
missing nothing.
Thank you, sis. Oh,
You're welcome.
if y'all are here and you want to come on and read with me next week, just drop a little line for me in the chat. Make sure I have your email address and I'll invite you on so you can read like Natasha read today. And you could discuss and we can have dialogue live. Oh, and you know,
Mhm.
even turn many people joining me on stage and we can all actually discuss live. So let me know in the chat if you would like to do that. And you can private chat me too. All right. So this is a tradition that is held in many families where we show love for one another with food. We're on page 33. There's nothing wrong with this tradition, but it isn't just about the food. The food was just an excuse for us to get together and see each other. By gathering on Sundays, we could spend time together and get to know each other's lives. That was special for me growing up, and the tradition continues to this day. The act of providing life giving sustenance and food to our loved ones was a symbolic act to say, I love you, care about you, and want to give you life. I hope you allow me to make a suggestion on other ways we can show love to our relatives. I will explain my idea by presenting a problem I've noticed over the years. After the family gets together on Sunday and eats, everyone goes home. When I was a kid, we went home to get ready for work or school the next day. Monday morning was never a good time in our household, since it represented the beginning of a busy, difficult, and stressful week for everyone. We lived for the weekends, giving the rest of our week to the corporate plantation. What? Let me
Mhm.
tell you about that corporate plantation, y'all. I had to get off that thing. I've been off of it for about 4 years now. Praise the Lord. Eyes free. Eyes free. Okay, sorry. Listen, I like to have a good time, y'all. Even
That's right.
though
Hallelujah.
glory, glory unto the Most High. Okay, I'm so serious about that. Let me tell you, I give him all the praise.
I
Okay,
know, right?
so my parents and all of their siblings had different jobs, all working for some white man across town. Never once did it cross their minds to combine their skills and make business moves together. Now, my daddy, he always had a business because let me tell you, our family,
Okay.
we are not good employees. We don't take direction well.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying? We're like, mm-mm. And you know, I was taught too by my business coach, like our jobs, if you do have a job and you're working on a business, your job is your biggest investor, right? It's the seed
Mhm.
money. It can provide seed money to build that business, right? So
Mm.
no shade on jobs at all. What's
Mhm.
telling y'all I wasn't a good employee, okay?
That's a great way of looking at it, though.
You know? Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
See, it's a seed money for that
That's right.
generation you're building.
That's right.
So I don't blame my family for not thinking about business during Sunday dinner, but I wondered to myself later in life, what better way for me to show you that I love you than to help you obtain financial security? Here's another way to envision the Sunday family gathering. Why not have a family business meeting? After eating together and socializing, everyone can sit on a couch and talk a bit about their personal financial outlook. In this meeting, you can discuss challenges, opportunities, and objectives. Now I'm gonna step out on a limb here. You know, now you can't do that with everybody in your family unless you have like a really sane family. But I personally could not do that with my family. But
Be
some people, yes. Mhm. Yes. Yeah, exactly, Deborah. Exactly. A lot of our parents encouraged us to go to school and get a job. So it's
Mhm.
very normal in our community. Um, let's see. If I have a business idea, I can share with the group. Someone in the group may then inform me of a piece of information they have or an opportunity they are aware of that might help my vision come to fruition. For example, if I announce that I would like to start a bakery, my cousin may let me know that she has always had an interest in baking and would love to provide labor. My sister may tell me that she has an extra 4,000 in savings and would like to become an investor. My aunt may tell me that she's aware of people at her job who would love to purchase baked goods if they were made available during lunchtime. Before long, we have a business. You see, You need three main markets in order to create a business: a market for capital, which is what I said before. We definitely need a capital base. A
Mm-hmm.
market for contractors, so that's your labor, and a market for customers. So you got to have your ideal audience, right? That's the with the trifecta, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Think of a market like a seesaw, where there must be weight on both sides. For example, a capital market consists of those who need cash or capital versus those who have capital they are willing to lend to others. This is how my sister is loaning me money to start my bakery. She is providing the capital and I'm borrowing it. The market for contractors is basically a market for labor. In order to run my bakery, I would need some help with skilled employees to get the job done. My cousin is providing labor in our labor market to help me get the work done. She may require compensation or may do it for free. When I started my first business, my cousin worked with me on an IOU for a pay rate that was less than I would have had to pay a stranger. This is the economic value of having good relatives. That's what's up.
That's rare too.
Baby, I wish. No shade, but
Uh-huh.
very risk averse in certain situations.
Yeah.
The last market is the market for customers. This consists of the producer and the consumer. Since my business is producing baked goods, I need someone who will buy them. That's where my aunt comes in as the person who can connect me with customers who are ready to buy my products. So I know my brother-in-law does that. He goes to my sister's salon and he sells like plate. He is an amazing chef. He does
Hmm.
lunches at her salon, and then people he sells out every single.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So they definitely have their family business doing that. So let's
Okay.
summarize. Rather than working for the man, our family business, the bakery, now has all that it needs in order to survive. We have access to the funds to start the bakery, the workers to help make the baked goods, and the customers necessary to buy the finished product. The process isn't as simple as what I've explained here, but it's not much different. The reality is that millions of black families could do the exact same thing, since there is money being spent every single day in black communities. But rather than receiving the training to provide goods and services to our own people, we are taught to provide labor to the white community in their corporations. Facts. This is a multi trillion dollar net loss to the black community, and it has led to continuous drains on our resources. The problem isn't getting better, it's getting worse. And this breaks my heart. This
Hmm.
form of education must be ended and replaced with a model that is more self sustaining. Getting a job should be the last resort, not the first and only option. The system isn't going to change this. This is something we must change ourselves.
Exactly.
Amen. So, what are your thoughts on that, Natasha?
we we live in a world where there's systems designed against us, and instead of trying to break those systems, we need to create our own. Plain and simple right now, create our own system, so the very things that he talks about in this book we can implement it. He made it simple with the bakery method, and then you spoke about your family with the food. It really is that simple. The technical stuff, I think, is what throws a lot of people off. Business license, taxes and that type of thing. But at the same time, you won't know what you can't do if you don't start it. And so right now, especially now with technology and being able to streamline things a lot faster, we could take the bulls by the horn and run with it. And I'm a Taurus.
Hey, yep, just like my husband.
We know about that.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
and you're right. Because I believe, many of us have these visions in our hearts. Like I know you said you're working on something,
Hmm.
and I'm always asking God for clarity around, how am I supposed to serve the people I'm called to serve, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think it's so, like you said, the logistics can slow us
Hmm.
down. But find a mentor, find another business owner that can support you. So like I know Jen and I, we do co-working together.
Hmm.
You've taught us many things around crypto.
Hmm.
So find people you can trust that can actually teach you, because they always
Hmm.
say teach, you know give a man a fish he eats for a day, teach a man
Hmm.
for life.
Hmm.
go ahead and learn how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was like, man, I need to learn how to be a farmer because at the way that this world is going, we gonna have to literally get back to the land, get back to learning how to produce our own economic systems and
Mm-hmm.
many systems, education systems.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we've been working for corporations for many, for some of us, for several decades. So we have the wisdom and the knowledge, but now we need to develop the courage and
Mm-hmm.
the confidence to work together and really put put our talents out into the world. And it may
Mm-hmm.
not be excellent at first, but I
Mm-hmm.
know it's gonna be excellent.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I heard somebody say a couple of years ago on social media, start off ugly. If you have to start off ugly, start off ugly. It'll get pretty over time. And that was a message to myself. What I start off with, back in 2008, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the ugliest, but it wasn't the worst either. And now, 17 years later, I let it sit on the shelf or whatever. And it's like, no, it's time to put this back into motion and let's do what needs to be done. And so all the feedback that I got back then, I'm taking that and put it into practice now and applying that so it can be better. But just start as what is it? When the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. You get started, you do what you need to do, and then you go from there. Because even like what I'm working on now, my work study partner, or I call it our work study sessions, is Miss Lalani. And so we're working on some things together and whatever. And it is great to have that, not only because she's an older person, but because I can glean from her wisdom, as far as what to do and her experiences and different things like that. So if you are truly ready, and I believe it is in you, I believe the help will come. And if we continue to grow, our network and our us teaching each other, like you teach the AI, I'm doing the crypto, other people doing other things. They're doing options training, Jen and Miss Lalani. So we're creating our own educational hub that
Yeah.
as we continue to learn things, that spreads out into the community. And it just starts with one person at a time and a person that's willing to provide that information, because the knowledge don't belong to us. It came from us, whether it's from the ethers, from my ancestors' history. The world didn't start with us. So we had to learn it from somewhere. Let's pass that information on so we can build our communities the way we want to.
Amen. Amen. Because basically, what you just described is that we're developing our own ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We know Jen. Jen said, "Don't forget she hosts FFS." That's we
That's right. Can't forget that.
Mhm. Got us on the social aspect. You and Miss Leilani got us on the financial aspect. I'm working with us on the AI aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then even in this community, this I created this community for women to feel comfortable talking about finances
Mm-hmm.
because I know I've had so many clients come to me saying they feel anxious or overwhelmed, right? And I don't like
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, oh no, finance is fun, right? But
There it is.
some of us have financial trauma, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a whole master's degree in counseling. So I understand when people say,
Mm-hmm.
this is something that happened to me. I've experienced conviction, excuse me, not conviction, evictions, or I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced, um, theft or any
Mm-hmm.
type of major trauma that you could
Mm-hmm.
have with your money. Um, and if they need to cry, I'm like, it's okay. You
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, yes, let's talk about it. And then now, how do you want it to be moving forward? Because what we have to do, well, what I like to encourage people to do is have that vision. What do you want it to be? And how
Mm-hmm.
we get there? Let's go together, right? Because they
Yeah,
say if you want to go faster, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
how can we do it together?
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like you're saying, what we're doing in these ecosystems, we're going together, because what we're doing is we're sharing our information, our knowledge, and it doesn't mean you have to be an expert. Because I never like the word expert, because there's always something you can learn. There's always something that can, that can take you higher in terms of what you already know. So even with that, whatever it is that you have, I don't know everything there is to know about crypto. I've been learning it since 2017. Now, I get to help people build a crypto portfolio. I get to teach it, and I learn as I go because I find that I'm loving it. So that's another thing. Find something that you love, learn it, and whatever information you can share, you pass it on. That's what I was asked to do. I continue to do it, and I am loving it. So it has to be something that's heart centered and not just about the money. Because also, too, if you do something that you love, that you see the need in your community, you can build a business around it. But let your intentions be the right intentions, and that is to educate our people and move forward. Because by the time we learn something, we are already 100 years behind, and playing catch up continues to put us behind as things move forward because it was never meant for us to learn these things. Okay, well, we know that. I don't need to focus on that. I need to focus on the solutions and
Mm.
not the problems, because whatever you focus on will expand. So let's focus on solutions so we can expand this knowledge and expand our ecosystems so that it can cover everything that we need as a group of people, because our learning needs are totally different from everybody else's. And we need to go back to that root to understand, understand, and overstand that, so that way we can be able to move things in a different way, that we'll be able to pivot differently than everybody else. And
Mm.
like your mentor Tasha Chen says, and I just love how she does that. Let's come from the feminine energy,
Yeah.
because that's where it all started from in the first place. And anything that we've gotten away from that was the original, we're having to go back because we already see the mess that we're in. Okay, we know that's their little mess over there. I'm sitting back drinking my Blue Lotus tea, minding the business that pays me, and watching the monkeys in the show because they ain't my monkeys. Let's do what we need to do.
Come on with the monkeys in the show
Uh,
drinking your tea. I am
sorry.
here for it. I'm taking my water.
That's right. Watch the
Mhm.
Ish show, because those aren't my monkeys over there. These are my people over here. That's what I'm focusing on.
Exactly, exactly. Elevation, elevation,
That's
elevation.
right. That's right.
Well, thank you for dropping your wisdom, Miss Natasha. Look, if y'all don't know
Mhm.
Natasha, she is a whole force to be reckoned with. She don't like the word expert, so I'm not gonna use that word for her.
Mhm.
But she is. I love her approach to everything she does. She is, like she said, she comes from that feminine energy, and she's very intuitive, and that's really important because like my mentor Tasha Chin always says, there is a shift happening in
Mhm.
the world, and
Mhm.
hopefully you sense it, you understand
Mhm.
it. And as women, we have natural intuition, and
Mhm.
our intuition is our connection to spirit.
That's
And
right.
so I don't know about y'all, but for me, I know I was always gaslighted and taught not to.
Mhm.
So I had to learn how to get back in touch with my feminine energy because I was
Mhm.
always kind of, you know, groomed to be like more masculine, like the effort,
Mhm.
pushing,
Mhm.
and that. But that's
Mhm.
tiring, y'all.
Yes,
That's
it is.
tiring. And you cannot, and that's not our natural nature.
Mm-mm.
And so, my hope is that, tonight you got something out of this. Maybe you were inspired to do something about that dream. I always like to give you a call to action. So is maybe
Mhm.
you have a dream on your heart. Like I know Jen is in charge of she has a company called Black on the Platform where
Mhm.
she is creating a directory of black owned businesses. So Jen, if you want to drop that link in the chat, um, if you're still here, because I know you have something to do. Also, if you have a business, I give you full permission to share on my platform. I am not one of those people like, oh, you can't share, you cannot.
Mhm.
I can't stand that because that's why
Mhm.
people are not elevating.
Exactly.
Because it's like you can't do this, you can't do that. No, please share because what you have to offer might be the catalyst for somebody else to take off, right? Like you might be the coach that they need. Um,
Mhm.
and then oh yes, I agree, Deborah. Deborah said you exemplify excellence.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you. Thank
Exactly.
you.
Yes, you do.
Thank you. And one more thing,
Yes.
I cannot leave the show tonight without, thanking Mia for inviting me here. Ever since I met her, I love her spirit. She just one of those people that you just like, oh, you could just listen to her all day because she has that love and that heart and that passion for women, especially melanated women. And she likes to have fun. She likes to laugh. She has a beautiful spirit and personality. And I just love her. So thank you for inviting me. And with that, I'm sharing her new book. I'm sharing her new book, Think, Learn, and Feel Rich by our very own Mia James. So, Mia, I'm putting you back on the spot. Tell
Oh,
us about your book, please.
absolutely. So, I finally got the book published. I did self-publishing, so I'm so happy. And this book, if you're new to financial literacy or you know someone who is new to financial literacy, this is a very short read. So it's 10
Mhm,
lessons on basic financial principles. It's like 5 to 6 pages per chapter, and then it's an action worksheet to be able to
mhm,
implement. And one thing I like to tell people about the book, in the beginning, there is a summary sheet where you can write down all your assets and accounts and things of that nature. Um, Thank you, Miss Deborah. And you can basically that way, if something happens to you, God forbid, your loved ones are not scrambling trying to figure things out. So these are the worksheets that Natasha is showing you here. Um, I wish I could make you bigger. I don't know how, but
yeah. No, I
but
don't need to be bigger.
it's funny. There's a free fillable PDF. So you see it has a lock in the middle because that's for protection purposes. But
Hmm.
if you scan the QR code in the book, you get a free fillable PDF on all those worksheets. And if you fill out those worksheets, you'll have a full comprehensive financial plan and summary of everything that you own. And you can continue to build your wealth from there. So it's very simple, very user friendly. And I wrote it in a conversational tone. So it's just like I'm talking
Hmm.
to you right now. I spoke my book out and
Hmm.
then I transcribed it.
Hmm.
So yeah, so if you would like to grab a copy of the book, you can get it on Amazon. I'll put and then or it's I'll put the title in it. It's Think, Learn, and Feel Rich. And my name is Mia James, in case you didn't know my last name. And I'll put that in there. And then or you can go on my website, which is which of course that'll take a little longer because I have to mail it to you, but that's not a problem at all. Or you can go on beyondthebusyness.com and I'm happy to send you a copy. So that's directly from me, or you can go on Amazon, which is a little bit faster, because it'll come like the next day. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah.
So thank you,
So
Miss Natasha.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Well, y'all, it has been great talking to y'all in the chat. It's been great having Miss Natasha on. Um,
Thank you.
she's amazing, always warms my heart and just teaches me so much. She's like the big sister I always wanted and never.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and that means a lot because I actually do have an older sister. I'm
I do
terrible.
too. I know what you're talking about.
Let me be quiet and nice. Um, so with that said, we're gonna call it a night. I hope y'all have
All
a
right,
beautiful
everybody. Thank you for being here.
good night, everyone.
Good night.